So our last speaker is Diane Sanfilippo, and she holds a bachelor's degree from Syracuse University. She's a certified nutrition consultant who specializes in blood sugar regulation and digestive health. She's also the New York Times bestselling author of Practical Paleo and the 21-Day Sugar Detox, and she writes for her popular health blog at www.balancedbites.com. She teaches nutrition seminars nationwide, and she has a top-rated weekly health podcast in iTunes, the Balanced Bites podcast. So we're really delighted that she's going to be joining us tonight. Thank you. That she'll be joining us tonight. And I don't have a personal experience of Diane. This thing is kind of, yeah, there we go. It's really, yeah, exactly. This will be my first personal experience, so I don't have anything to show or to say about it, except that I have been trying out the paleo diet for the last 21 days. It has been slightly challenging, but I've actually noticed a tremendous health benefit. So I'm grateful to her and to others who've been promoting this.
Thank you. I'm going to borrow this book. For those of you who don't know me, actually, how many of you listen to the Balanced Bites podcast? Show of hands. About 20 or so people. Awesome. Thank you for coming. If I haven't met you before, here I am live and in person. I know a lot of times people listen to the show for a long time. It's a weekly podcast and they hear my voice every week in the car, and now it's like we're best friends. So for those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Diane Sanfilippo. I am a certified holistic nutrition consultant, and I studied nutrition at Bowman College in Berkeley. So a lot of you may or may not be super familiar with Bowman. They have campuses all around California as well as in Colorado, and do offer distance learning as well. So if anyone is interested in some holistic nutrition in a different route, that's a great way to go. I studied with them and I found it to be a great experience. This is the book that was just referred to. There are no more copies left here, but I guarantee you there are many copies available in the area. Barnes & Noble carries it. You can get it at Target stores. You can get it, of course, on Amazon. So if somebody missed getting a copy, I'm just going to show you right here. That's the book. And actually, it weighs almost 4 pounds, so I'm just going to put it down. A lot of what the two doctors were talking about tonight, one of the graphics on leaky gut is actually from my website and from the book. So there was a lot of information on leaky gut and the gut microbiome, and it was amazing, but I can tell that it's a lot. And if you're looking for a way to understand it in some really easy terms, broken down, some visuals, all of that, that's what Practical Paleo is really for. In the book, I cover how your digestion works, how your blood sugar should work, all of that, and just really break it down in very easy to understand language. So there's that. But what I'm actually going to talk about today is how many of you do eat a paleo diet now? So a good number. Okay, for a second there I thought I was maybe going to be talking to people who have never attempted this before. And if you haven't, that's fine. I think it's actually important for you to learn this anyway, because a lot of people learn about paleo and then kind of become paralyzed because they feel like that's the end and it's the only thing to do. And eliminating all of these foods, which is what a paleo diet is. We're eliminating grains, legumes, dairy for the most part, refined foods, sugars, etc. We're eliminating all those foods, and for a lot of people, that can be extremely daunting, right? I mean, I just rattled off a list of everything you're currently eating. If you're not eating a paleo diet and it's like, what's left? Well, I guarantee you I'm not starving, but it's something that I think is extremely therapeutic, and it's an amazing way to eat. You can eat this way for a lifetime, or you can use it as an intervention and learn from it and find ways to add back things that perhaps are maybe some grains that you find you do okay with, and some others you don't do okay with. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about, is how we go from this idea of a 21 or a 30-day or even a 3-month or 6-month or 1-year way of eating into a lifestyle, because 6 or 7 years later, I don't even know how long I've been doing this, that's where I'm at now, and I know that's where a lot of people who've been learning along with me. I have someone here who was at a cooking class I taught with 4 people in my friend's apartment about 6 or 7 years ago, and she's still here with me, and I know a lot of us have gone through this and just don't need to do this as strictly for forever. So maybe it'll be a little bit also of a light for some of you who are thinking, well, if I go paleo, is that it? Like, do I have to do that for forever? Does that mean I can never ever eat bread again? It'll be okay. Everybody will be okay. So this is a little bit of what you guys heard in learning about the gut microbiome, but I'm going to approach it a little bit differently. When we talk about a paleo diet, as I mentioned, it's an elimination diet. So we're removing a whole bunch of foods. But what often happens is that people forget that there's more to it than just removing these foods, and they stop there. And it's something that we need to remember the next steps beyond that. Beyond even just a 4-hour protocol, we need to have some assessment. We need to see what's going on in our body and really make that individual choice. I'm all about personal responsibility and our own responsibility to make proper choices for ourselves. It's amazing if you have health practitioners who can guide you in a certain direction, but ultimately it's up to what you choose every single day to put on your plate. So this is kind of the framework that I have for you guys tonight. It's about eliminating those certain foods, time and testing, right? So you're going to keep them eliminated for a certain amount of time, then you're going to see how you feel. You're going to then reintroduce those foods, and then you need to write down results and learnings. And when I say write down, I really do mean write down, because if you think you remember how you felt 6 months ago, you probably don't, because the transition happens day by day by day. And if you're not really being accountable for it, even just a single daily note of something that you discovered. And if you're not sure, ask your partner, your close friend, your coworkers, your husband, your wife. They will tell you what's changing, because we all see it in each other, sometimes more than we see it in ourselves. So when we do talk about the elimination, these are the things we're talking about eliminating: industrial seed oils. So that's going to be things like canola, soybean, corn oil, vegetable oil, cottonseed oil, all of those industrial oils. And I know a lot of you are taking notes. I mean, it's not to plug the book, but it's all in Practical Paleo. It's 432 pages, so it's all in there. I have all of the good and bad fats, also cooking fats that are appropriate versus not. Grains, so we're talking about gluten-free grains and gluten-containing grains at this point. Obviously, processed foods, I don't really need to beat a dead horse there. Dairy, at this point we are talking about all dairy. When you go to reintroduce it, I also love the idea of high quality grass-fed dairy, especially fermented dairy, things like yogurt and kefir, legumes, and then sugars and sweeteners. So that's what's being eliminated. Of course, everyone feels like, what would you eat? Well, we already saw a lot of what we were eating in the previous talk. Meat, vegetables, seafood, eggs, nuts and seeds. Trust me, there's plenty to eat. For years, I had to explain to my 92-year-old grandmother that I wasn't hungry. I was like, Grandma, do I look hungry? Trust me, I'm getting enough food. It's okay. But here's the stuff I want to go over with you guys. If you are, I have additional notes that are, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to see them on here, and I can't, so I'm glad I have them on my phone. But what I want to tell you is that as you go through attempting something like a paleo diet or not, what if you're trying something where you're avoiding animal foods? Maybe you're going vegan for a while, which is not something that I recommend, but if you are, I do recommend that you evaluate what's happening. You can't just put on blinders and say, this is what I know now and nothing else exists, because it's not wise to do that. And you become somebody who is closed off to new ideas or new information, and that's really not who I don't think who any of us want to be. So in 30 days minimum, you might see changes to things like blood sugar regulation, energy, sleep, acne, and cravings. And I do have a book and a program, the 21-Day Sugar Detox. You can see changes to your cravings and the way food tastes in as little as even 21 days. It takes even less time than that for some people, but that's something that, within that 30 days, that's what's happening. But for a lot of people, it takes a lot more time, and that can seem daunting, right? You feel like you could maybe do something for a month, but when somebody tells you it's going to take 3 or 6 or a year to have changes, that seems like something you may not want to even start. So that's why most of us try and introduce you with a 30-day meal plan. I have 11 30-day meal plans in Practical Paleo for all different health conditions, as well as things like fat loss and athletic performance. So we want to give you this way of coming into it very slowly, but you have to know that sometimes it takes 3 months to see changes in things like body fat. Look, you might see them in 30 days, but you might not. You've been feeding your body a certain way for the last 30, 40, 50 plus years. 30 days is not that long, right? When you think about how much time that is, it can change a lot, but it's not that long. So to see changes in body fat digestion, sometimes that first month, it's a little shaky, but over a few months, things do start to normalize. Your body gets used to the foods that you're eating, get used to a lot more of those leafy greens, for example, maybe some more fat, changes in your mood, and in autoimmune disease. How many of you are diagnosed with an autoimmune disease in this room? I mean, only about a third of you have raised your hands, but there's probably more who don't want to raise their hand. I get it. Usually about at least 1 in 3, if not 2 in 3 people are either diagnosed. This is just my anecdotal experience. Every time I give a talk, I ask this question. Either you're diagnosed or an immediate family member or a loved one has been. It's rampant, and it's something that's extremely well managed with diet for many people because of what you heard earlier about 60 to 80% of your immune system lives in your gut. So when you fix what you're eating, your entire immune system changes, and it's really powerful. But it can take more than a month. It can take more than that 30 days. So in about 6 months, you might see more changes in your skin, hair, and nail health. That's kind of it takes longer for that stuff to kind of reflect what's happening with your diet. It also takes longer for some people who may have ever experienced hair loss. It doesn't happen immediately. If it was an acute bout of hair loss, it doesn't happen a week after a stressor. It happens months after a stressor. I've had many people come to me feeling like they don't know why they lost their hair, and we have to dig back a few months to see what was going on. And invariably, it's been some kind of major stressor, whether it's emotional trauma, some kind of infection, something else going on, outside of course, some autoimmune diseases like alopecia. And then in 1 to 2 years, this is when you can start to see, I think, the best time for how to reincorporate those non-paleo foods, because I do think that if you try to reincorporate them very, very early, then the habits that you've created may or may not stick. But what happens when you wait 6 months, even a year, up to 2 years after doing this, you have created a whole new lifestyle for yourself. You're shopping differently at the grocery store. You're building your plate very differently. And so for someone like me, when I go to reintroduce something like gluten-free, organic steel-cut oatmeal, it doesn't crowd out everything else in my diet. I'm still very aware that I need to be getting tons of veggies in my diet. I'm getting healthy fats, good protein. All of that is still in place. Whereas previously it may have been just a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, not also 2 whole eggs, not also some avocado and some arugula. So it shifts the way that you're building your plate, and it shifts the way that you're thinking. So when I talk about time and testing, these are the foods that obviously you are eliminating, so you'll go to reintroduce them. You really need to pick one category at a time to reintroduce. You can't, decide when you're going to try this and then put all of this in your meal at once. It's going to insult your body and your immune system. It won't feel good. Inevitably, if somebody goes on a pizza and beer bender after 6 months of eating paleo, it won't feel good. But can you pinpoint what it was at that point? Probably not. You're getting alcohol, you're getting a ton of gluten, you're getting dairy, and it's probably not high quality. At that point, it probably wasn't your own, beautiful chev on like home sprouted wheat or any of that. It's probably, the corner pizzeria or something. So we really need to pick each one of these individually, reintroduce it systematically. I like for people to take one day that they're going to reintroduce something and have that food at 3 meals that day, because just a bite may or may not actually trigger a flare of whatever your immune system will do to respond. So let's just say you're going to reintroduce dairy. You'll have a little bit with breakfast, a little bit with lunch, and a little bit with dinner. That may sound like a lot after you've been eating paleo for a while, but actually many Americans eat that for every single meal. So it's going to be systematic, and then you wait 72 hours to introduce the next category or the next type of food, and you write down what you notice. You may get joint pain, you may have issues with acne, digestive distress, mood swings. Ask your husband or wife if you are being moody. They'll probably say yes regardless, but this is how you do it. You really take it systematically, because otherwise you're constantly playing a guessing game when you go to try new foods, not knowing how it will affect your body. I know for a fact that dairy causes me to break out. I know it, but I also know that a little bit of goat cheese once versus goat cheese every day for a week, a little bit once won't do it, whereas if I actually have a lot of it, it will. So that's something that I've learned over time, and I think it's really important for us to figure that out for ourselves, because you don't want somebody telling you to eat something or not eat it for an arbitrary reason, right? We want it to have a real effect on us or not. Oh, sorry. I forgot to advance my slide. So this is the reintroduction. This is reiterating what I had just said. Here's the thing, repairing the gut often needs to happen before the reintroduction, and this is something that we heard about earlier this evening. In many cases, and especially if you have an autoimmune condition, this needs to happen, and a lot of times people go through elimination and reintroduction, but they don't do those stages in between, and so that's something that we really need to think about if we are doing this elimination. If you're going through the trouble of eliminating foods that you love for all that time, be systematic about it. Make sure that you are working on re-inoculating your gut with those good bacteria, that you are repairing the gut lining. I have all kinds of information on that in Practical Paleo. I can't get into everything now. Things like slippery elm and licorice root, all different kinds of supplements that can actually help with that, as well as reducing stress, as you heard about. That will absolutely help to repair the gut lining. And then your results and learnings from your own experimentation. Chart qualitative changes. So of course we like quantitative changes, like changes in our weight and our body fat percentage and our measurements. But for some people that isn't going to happen. For some people your body may be at a relatively healthy place body fat wise. Even if you have about 10 or 20 pounds to lose in your mind, it may not be metabolically that critical for you to lose that weight. So you really need to pay attention to what are these qualitative changes: your mood, your energy, your sleep, your digestion, your blood sugar regulation. And when I say that, that is one that you can also quantify as well. I was talking to a gentleman earlier tonight about blood tests that we can do. Something like triglycerides is a very, very easy marker to watch, because it's something that you'll be tested for anytime you have a normal physical. Your triglycerides, and some of the doctors, I am not a medical professional, so this is not diagnosis or treatment, but your triglycerides, if you're in the 150 and plus range on your triglycerides, you really need to be paying attention to this. And even if you're eating a paleo diet for 3 months and you're still coming in at over 100, then that's something to pay attention to. You're probably eating a lot more carbohydrate and sugary foods than you need for the type of activity that you do. Somebody who's eating a paleo diet that's well balanced for them is pretty much going to be coming in below 100, and your test is going to tell you that under 150 is healthy, but that's for the general population. When you start to eat a paleo diet, you are no longer the general population. I mean, that's not a joke, but it is kind of funny. And then obviously if you have autoimmune symptoms and your body fat levels can change, so those are things that you would want to track. I got through that really quickly, you guys. I'm just, we want to answer questions. Questions are my favorite part. So if you want to connect with me, I don't know what types of interneting you all do. BalanceBites.com, a woman just earlier tonight said she really enjoyed the website. Lots of recipes, lots of information on the website. 6+ years of content on the website. So BalanceBites.com. The podcast I actually didn't list here. If you like listening, I like to listen to content to learn it. If you like listening, the Balance Bites podcast every week, it's free. You can download it from the iTunes store. You can get it from my website. Whatever kind of app you may use to listen to a podcast, you can get it from. My emailing list, if you want to be updated on what's happening every week, new recipes, all that great stuff. Of course, if you use social media, you can find me Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All of that's linked from my website, so if you just go to balancebites.com, you'll find it. And of course, my books. So Practical Paleo is the first one. It was on the New York Times list for about 97 weeks. It's the best-selling paleo book, and in 2014, it was the 6th best-selling cookbook of the year, so just behind like the Pioneer Woman. So that's how big this movement, yeah. I mean, you all know who the Pioneer Woman is. Nobody knows who I am, and I was right behind her. That's how big this movement is, which is indicative of how compelling the changes are when people modify what's on their plate. I mean, when you make those changes, you can't deny what happens, and I'm a firm believer in once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. You might want to ignore it, but you can't unlearn it. You can't unlearn that you felt better when you weren't eating processed, refined foods. And then, so Practical Paleo, 21-Day Sugar Detox. I know some people have that book if sugar and carb cravings are your big issue. That's really a great place to start. It's actually not strict paleo, but it does take things gluten-free, soy-free, refined, junk-free. And I co-authored a book called Mediterranean Paleo Cooking, which uses a lot of similar spices to what we were hearing about in the previous presentation, things like turmeric, cinnamon, lots of anti-inflammatory spices, and combines that Mediterranean flavor with paleo diet. So if you guys are looking for even more ways to use those amazing spices, you can check that out too. Thank you.